All right, so for our latest project here, we're going to be taking a look at this NEC DX-3500U Video Recorder. And I hadn't intended on doing another VCR project so close to the Hitachi one I'd done, maybe a video or so back, but came into possession of this kind of quickly. I've been watching this on eBay for a little while. It's been various prices, and finally I made an offer to the guy of $15, and he did accept that. And with the shipping to my door, this was about 50 bucks, or right under 50 bucks. And when I originally had a look at the photos of this machine and took a look at what he described as the issue, I got a generic complaint of partially works. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect on that. What I really anticipated was the digital noise reduction module in this to be bad. And so I really bought this in an effort to try to bypass that module and see if I could do it. But as I have discovered, and I've already taken a pretty brief look at this, there is no issues with that module. It is working, and the machine itself works and has a beautiful picture on it, but it will eat the tape when you try to eject it. So that, of course, is going to lead us to the idler assembly. So I think what we're going to do in this video, we're going to take a good look at this machine. We're going to pull the cassette housing out of it and get that idler fixed to the point to where we can get it to successfully eject the tape without eating it. And then from that point, we'll work on doing some playback testing and playback recording with it. Absolutely beautiful machine. It's in fantastic condition. I don't want to say perfect, but damn near it. And this even included the original factory box and packing material in it. I did not get the factory remote, but that's okay. We're going to see what we can do with this thing. As for our intro music this time, we're going back to 1981, taking a look at Triumph's album, Allied Forces, and given the recent events up north, I thought this was fairly appropriate. So let's take a listen to one of my favorite songs by the band, Fight the Good Fight, and then we'll get started on the NEC machine.
Destiny, so give and take the best that you can.
All right, let's go ahead and pick back up. We'll have a tour of the buttons on the front of the unit. Starting on the far left here, we do have the momentary power switch and eject. Right above that, the cassette flip door is in excellent condition with the lettering still intact. Basically have this stamped with digital exact track 4-head machine. Right below that, you have your VU meters, and they have these basically oriented opposing each other, so they're peeking out away from one another. Looks very cool when there's a tape playing in it. And then we'll pull down our flip door here, and we have an array of things you can do. Starting on the far left, it is all about the tuner setup for either cable TV or regular, and then preset manually, and this one will auto preset the stations in it for you too. Of course, this is not anything that would be able to be used today. We have a 3.5 headphones jack as well as a volume control for the headphones jack, and that doubles as the output for the variable RCA connections in the back of the machine. We also have a sharpness control for the picture, and then of course the tracking control. Moving over, we have input, whether it be tuner, secondary audio channel, or line input. Output is going to be stereo left and right, and then of course the audio either normal or hi-fi. This one does have Dolby noise reduction on it. And then the meters have their own switch, whether you can just switch them off altogether. You can use them as VU meters, or you can use them to set the hi-fi tracking, to tweak that in a little bit. Over to the right of that, we do have the tuner control for either standard stereo or SAP, and then a level for the digital noise reduction, either 1 time or 2 times. To the right of that, you have some tweaking potentiometers for the ×2 picture in EP and SP. So if you kick it into fast mode, you can use those to help tweak the picture out a little bit. I assume that's what those are for. Right above, we have the VCR TV switch. Digital memory, basically what happens if you're playing a tape, or the tuner, I would suppose, and you want to freeze the picture on the screen, you push that button, and it will digitally freeze the image on the screen. Record to the right of that. Then below, we start picking up with some counter functions here, either memory and reset, and then the timer record features of the machine, timer record, and then you have the shift, negative, or plus and minus, and then the timer record switch itself. Record mode, EP, SP, probably LP on this one, I would imagine, and then time adjust. Right above that, the transport controls for rewind, fast forward, pause, and then slow. Over to the right of that, we have DSR. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I would assume it's related to record. We have a segment record button here, and then the channel and set buttons. Play and stop, finish it off. The front face of the machine is in really, really nice shape. I did notice that the display tube is fairly weak in this. I don't know if that's something that we will find a cap in the power supply to help us get past that, or if it was setting in someone's entertainment center for 20 years with 12 blinking for an indefinite amount of time. Let's go ahead and flip it around and we'll take a look at what's on the back of it. All right, carrying on from the back of the machine, we do have the RCA input for audio, as well as fixed and variable output for the sound. And of course, variable sharing the control with the headphones, video in and out for composite, and then the RF connections out and in, and of course a channel 3, channel 4 switch for the RF modulator. Not much else. There is one unswitched AC outlet that they give you in the back of the machine here, but otherwise, just kind of based on the condition that these jacks are in, and even the RF ones, doesn't look like this machine has had a hard life at all. So let's go ahead, and the first thing, let's go ahead and get it opened up. We'll get the top off of it, and we definitely want to go ahead and remove the front face and get the cassette housing out of it and work on the idler first. So give me a moment for that and we'll pick back up. All right, real quick as we come back in, let's take a look at this thing, show you what I've seen, how clean it is. This is about as good as you could ever expect for a VCR this old. All of the metal down where the cylinder is mounted, all of that is still very, very clean. No gooed up belts, so I'm not sure if the belts were changed in it at one point, and that's how we were able to avoid the goo. but everything in this machine is nice and sparkly clean, including the circuit boards. Find a little bit of dust in the power supply, nothing significant to even mention. All the capacitors on this board, I didn't check them all, but I did kind of spot check some of the smallest values of these. They all still are in pretty good shape. We'll use pretty good here. I'm not going to say perfect, but pretty good. The ones right around that regulator section right there, all those capacitors are absolutely perfect. There is no high ESR on any of those. And you would think that that would be an area that there would be a little bit of deterioration, but didn't see anything. Let's take a look at the bottom of it. I went ahead and removed the bottom because we'll have to have that off to get the face off of it. Again, same situation, everything in real good shape, nice and clean. You'll see a lot of that brown glue. And of course, we won't mess with that in this video, but of course I'll have to remove all of that to avoid any potential problems that could arise from it still being there. I did notice that the belt here is a little misformed. It's been sitting in one place for a long time, and so it kind of has a dead spot in it. But it'll be good enough for us to do our little testing with. This one having the same kind of ring assembly as Toshiba uses. Don't know if that is the base of this mechanism is their design and NEC used it, or maybe Toshiba got it from them, but it looks very, very similar to that. Otherwise, everything else looks to be in pretty good shape. So I think the first thing we want to do is I'll set the camera up overhead, we'll get the face off, and we'll take out the cassette housing so we can get down to the idler. So give me a second for that and we'll pick back up. All right, so as we come back in, I went ahead and took the 3 screws from underneath out of the face. Of course, once you take the bottom off, then you can have access to those screws, or the screws may be accessible without taking the bottom off, but we needed to do it anyway. And so there's 2 screws in the top, one right over here, and then one right in the middle. There's not one on the other side here. These are fairly large screws. And so now, hopefully, you can just ease it off there. Might have to raise up the one side and grab it from underneath. If I can find the clip. I would imagine that this plastic is probably pretty brittle. So we don't want to mess with anything here or break anything in an effort to try to get it off. Let me raise the machine up for a second here. There we go. And there it is. Was really hoping there'd be a nice thick haze of dust there obstructing our fluorescent display tube, but no luck on that. Now for getting the cassette housing out, now that we have the 2 screws from the face mask out of there, there's 1 screw down in this side and then 1 through this hole right here. Let's go ahead and get those out. I'd be surprised if this thing has not had at least an idler in it over its lifetime, but maybe not. Maybe this is all original. And then once you lift this part out, you can get a hold of the plug and pull it right out of there. And there is our second screw that was holding the cassette housing in. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, I'll lower the camera down and we'll start right here. We're gonna get this piece out, and I may have this tire. I did have a few idler tires left in my collection when I left my shop behind, so we'll see if I have it. If I do, we'll use that. Otherwise, we'll rejuvenate this one with a little rubber renew, just to the point to where it's not eating the tape anymore. So give me a second for that, and we'll pick back up with the idler. All right, as we come back in, I've had a chance to kind of take a look at things in here. And I mean, I remember back 20 years ago or so, getting this pink slip washer off of the idler was always such a pain in the ass. And this one looks like it's never been taken off. So I'm wondering if we're looking at a virgin idler assembly here that's never been changed. I'd find it hard to believe it worked all of that time. Of course, if it wasn't used a lot, you may not even know the idler is bad. But it has been worked on. This machine had a very common problem with the tape guides. Basically, the post in the tape guide, the actual guide itself, would be fine. There wouldn't be any kind of an issue with it. The problem would be that the post that it sits in, this post right here, that pole would get broke loose from the base that it sits in. So the tape guide itself was still in alignment, but the post where it goes into the base would start to come loose, and it would move up and down and of course cause a tape path issue. Same way on the other side. You can't see it here, I'm pretty sure, but there's a pretty thick coating of epoxy or something they've put down in there, and preventing that from happening. I used to have a pretty similar method. I would mix up some epoxy and pour the epoxy down in there in the groove, because there's a little bit of a groove there, and I'd pull the post up, put the machine in play with an alignment tape in it, and I'd do one side at a time, and I would just slightly tap on this, watching the pattern on the scope, and when it got in alignment, I'd stop, and then I'd do the other side the same way. And then once they were both in alignment, once the tape path was back in alignment, I'd pull the tape out of it and let it set until it got hardened up. And somebody has done that very thing here. There's a big bead of epoxy around both of these. But yeah, as far as this is concerned, I don't think that's ever been taken off. It doesn't look like it, because you got to fight with these a little bit. That doesn't always just come out, and it just looks perfect, like it's never been taken apart before. And so it's kind of hard to imagine that it would not have had the idler changed at least one time anyway. See if I can dig it out of there without sticking this pick through my finger. I got it. There we go. And yeah, it's pretty worn down. Let me see if I have one of these. I might have one. I said maybe. I might have a good substitute. That might work. There was a couple of tires I remember right would substitute for that one. I mean, this one, by the time you stretch it out and get it over there, and that is a brand new tire, I think we'll try this one and see. I'm gonna eventually get the correct one and get all the belts and change all the belts out to the correct ones as well. Yeah, see, this one's not quite wanting to stretch that far. We might be able to convince it to do that. Let's see here. So by the time that the tire got stretched into place, it winds up being in about the same spot that the other one was in. So we'll try that and see. I don't think it'll be any worse than it was. Now listen to this. Listen to this reel. Absolute silent. Usually there'll be a little bit of squeaking, a little bit of noise there. All right, we got that back in place. So I think we'll leave that as is. I'm just kind of looking over the head and looking over the tape path up in here. There's a little bit of tape residue here, but nothing too terrible. I do want to clean off the audio control head while we're in here. There's a little residue there. Pressure roller appears to be in good shape. It is not hard. There we go. That should be good. Yeah, that pressure roller feels pretty good. Back in the day, I never had to change a head on one of these, but it doesn't look like it'd be fun to do. There's a lot of wires there, and you got to unsolder them. It's not socketed like so many were. All right, so I think we're at the point. Let's go ahead. I'll put the cassette housing back in it. We won't worry about putting the front panel on it right now. And let's see if this thing will eject the tape without eating it on the way out. So give me a second for that, and I'll pick back up with you. All right, as we pick back up, went ahead and got the cassette housing back in it, and it is up and playing a tape again. Here's the picture quality on this bad boy. Here's the still picture. Absolutely flawless, locked into place, SP. Also did discover that that volume control for the headphones is not the variable output for the RCA connections. I went ahead and programmed this up through this URC MX350, and the volume control here is what outputs the audio on the variable jack. So yeah, obviously it has on-screen display. I didn't know that either. I did try to find an owner's manual online for this. I was not successful in trying to get one. Unless you want to buy one, they do have one for sale on eBay. But I did locate a sales brochure from a stereo review magazine in 1989. And this machine sold for about $1,150 back then. A lot of money. No question about that, but I do see the quality here. A very nice picture being output on this thing, and of course the sound is pretty dead on too. Only thing I can say that I don't care for is there is no variable record level for the audio. That is fixed unless there's something on the factory remote that would allow you to change it, which I doubt. That record level is a fixed set level, so you can't change that, but that's the only complaint that I would have about this. Our display tube is waking up a little bit, and that kind of makes me think that I want to pull the power supply out and let's take a look at how the health of the capacitors in the power supply are doing. We might find a low microfarad capacitor there that they're using across the filament line of the display tube. That might help us a little bit, but it could just be worn out too, because it's a little dim and it's hard to see when you got the face of it on. So I think that's the next step. Let's go ahead and do that. If we don't come up with anything there, we'll stick the power supply back in it and we'll do a little test recording with it. But let's go ahead and pull the power supply out and take a look at that. But otherwise, the machine is pretty dead on.
We'll be fighting in the streets with our children at our feet. In the morals.
All right, I'll go ahead and set the camera back up and we'll have a look at the power supply and see if we can come up with anything there to help us on the display tube. But as of right now, that's really all I'm seeing. I did go ahead and change the capstan belt out of this. That one was just a little bit wonky with that bulge in it, so I went ahead and swapped that out for one I had in stock. And let's go ahead and take a look at this power supply. I'll bring you right back. All right, so I went ahead and unplugged the machine, got you set up here so we can take this out. This power supply is not even really that hot. It was running for a while, but I think we're gonna have to remove the tuner board here. There should be a tuner and maybe a IF module in order to get out the power supply. This looks like it's in the way, so let's see how lucky we'll get in trying to get this out of the way. And there we go. That's easy enough. I'm going to try not to put any excessive force on these plugs. I don't want to break the sockets that they go in. It looks like everything is laid out pretty well to where you can't really put these in the wrong way, from what I can tell here anyway. We got a ground wire there. And there's that wire. And it looks like a wire in every, we got a black connector here, a white connector, and a yellow connector. And every last wire is the color of the connector, so there's not really any way to do it wrong. You'd have to kind of be trying to do it wrong to do it wrong. All right, let's see how much we're going to have to take apart here. I don't know if this will get us anywhere or not. There we go. Comes right out of there. Now let's see. Let me take a look at it under magnification here real fast and see if there's anything that jumps out. Other than a few cold solder joints, I'm not seeing Not really seeing anything here. But we do got quite a few capacitors here. Oddly enough, there's red marks on top of these. I don't know if that's, I would assume that's something that came from the factory with. That's just kind of an identification marker I use when I'm going to change them. I'll put a red mark on them if they're bad. Let me run through these real quick here, and let's see if I can get you in the shot. Find us a magazine to lay across there or something. We'll use this old MCM magazine. Seems appropriate. See if I can get you down in here a little closer. Let's start with, I don't think there's any need to run these large ones. We know that they're good. So we'll just start with some of the smaller ones. And the first one right there is 100 mic at 16, and it is bad. Now I didn't trace this line back to see what goes to the fluorescent display tube, but we're going to just assume that one of these is probably responsible for that if they put a cap across the line. So this first one that we came to here is bad, so we're going to put a blue mark on it so we know to change it. And then there's one right next to it, real close there. And it is also bad. And it is the same 100 mic at 16 volt. Try to get you in there so you can see what I'm talking about. So we'll put a blue mark on him too. And then we have, let's see what this is. 10 mic right here. Another 10 mic right here. And then I bet you we'll find everything over here is probably okay. But let me look at these two right here. That one is questionable, but not bad. And this one is not good. That one is bad. So we got this one here. Definitely bad. And then we got this one here, which is questionable. Actually, that one's okay there. Let's go ahead and we'll finish up and we'll run the rest of these small ones over here. That one is definitely bad right there. And what is that? Is that one mic? One mic at 50, that's definitely bad. I don't think that would be the one for the filament line, but it ain't good. And that one's bad as well. Oh yeah, so everything over here, all these smaller ones are bad. And that's 100 mic right there. That one right there is 100 mic and it's totally bad. So we need a little capacitor work. It might be enough to bring us back. And of course all these bigger ones are pegging. They're great. No issues whatsoever. There is a 10 mic tucked right back here. Let's check that one and see. That one's okay. And then all these other ones, these larger ones, should be just fine. good. That's good. I'm shorting them out so I don't zap my meter. Now this right here is not good. There's a 100 mic at 100 volt cap right there that is not good. It is bad. So is. So that one's got to be changed. And this one's completely open. So I guess my theory about the bigger caps being okay is definitely not the case. This one's bad. And this one's looks like 100 mic at 63 volts. The one right next to it's 100 mic at 100 volts. And they're both bad. So we got a little bit of capacitor work to do. So, all right, let me go ahead and find some replacements for these. Some of them I'll have new, some I'll just pull them out of older circuit boards that I have laying around. And let's change those out and see if we can get our display to respond a little bit better. So give me a few minutes for that and I'll pick back up with you. All right, so as we pick back up, clearly we got a much brighter fluorescent display there. It's not perfect, but it is 100% better than it was. Wound up changing 3 pretty large ones, a 2200 at 25 volts, 100 mic at 100 volt, and then this one I believe was the one on the filament line. This is a 100 mic at 63 volts right here. And then an assortment of 1 mic at 50, 100 mic at 16, and 10 mic at 50 I believe is what it was. Got it all put back in there. Everything is working again. And when we put the front face back on this bad boy, it will be just a little bit dimmer, but you can definitely see this way better than before. Again, not perfect, but way better than before. I'm going to go ahead and slip the front cover back on it, and we're going to set it up and do a couple of record tests with it. So give me a second for that, and I'll pick back up with you. Well, there's not much doubt about it. It is a very slick machine, works very, very nicely. There ain't no question about that. Well, let's go ahead and see how well it will make a recording. I have no reason to believe it wouldn't do just as good a job on record as it's doing right here on play. So I'll go ahead and get you set up, and we'll start doing a little test recording with that.
Wes, what are you doing?
All right, so as we pick back up here, I got you set up in the tripod. Put a blank tape in the unit, and what we're going to do is we'll start off in SP. We'll do a few seconds, a little less than a minute, and then I'll switch it down to EP, and we'll do a little bit there too. I have the variable RCA output turned down in the mixer right now just so I can talk, but I'll bring that up as we start doing our record test. So nothing fancy here. I'm going to go ahead and start into record. And I'll go ahead and bring the sound up in the mixer for you here.
He wandered off again. Torres, go find him. You two, keep talking.
I mean, there's not really much else I can say. I've never really done tri-shots myself.
Well, you use a drop or two ingested. 1 or 2 drops should do the trick. Any more than that, you'll end up in the ER. I mean, from what I've heard, no, we're not really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Zico and BI are more my vice.
The hell is that?
Seriously? It's K-hip-hop.
What the hell is that?
Tragic.
Hey there. Can I help you?
No.
Okay. Let's try this one. Who are you?
Max.
Oh, sorry, you must be one of the essay winners. I'm Agent Jack Sloan.
You're new here. Am I right?
Not exactly. Ah, do you like that? I got it in Austria.
All right, let's go ahead and back this up, and we'll see what this looks like.
It doesn't fit.
Take one.
Why?
Come on, dude, just humor me. Aha, black licorice.
All right, here we go. We'll bring it up in the mixer.
Analyze me now?
I could, or you could just tell me why.
Any more than that, you'll end up in the ER. I mean, from what I've heard, no, we're not really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Zico and BI are more my vice.
The hell is that?
Seriously? It's K-hip-hop.
What the hell is that?
Tragic.
Hey there. Can I help you?
No.
I don't know, it looks pretty spot on to me. I think we can go ahead and put an end to the SP one, and we'll start off and we'll do an EP record. So give me a second here for that.
A fatal amount of a synthetic drug was found in the system.
You're wrong. I would have known if my brother was doing drugs.
I'm going to reset the counter.
Opioids decimated our hometown. Kendrick was determined to escape that life.
All right, here we go
Someone
with
must have
EP.
set him up.
Why would they do that?
Being the CO's favorite made him a target.
And by the way, this variable audio out here does not affect the record level of the incoming
There's a sailor
audio.
on board the Ewing. He had been harassing my brother for weeks. I should have stepped in and done something, but Kendrick said he wanted to fight his own battles.
Man, it feels so good to be on the field. A few more hours, this mentoring thing will be over.
It's been 2 days.
Exactly. What's this guy's story?
Andrew Townsley, 22 years old, discharged 6 months ago when he popped positive for a shipwide drug test.
It says here that he was brought up to captain's mast where he punched his superior. This guy's a winner.
Yep. There he is, Andrew Townsley.
Who wants to know?
NCIS.
Use context clues, idiots. Can't you see I'm not in the Navy anymore?
I'm sure they're reeling from the loss. Does this guy look familiar?
All right, let's go ahead and stop there.
What did the Boy Scout rat me out for this time?
And we'll back it up a little bit and see what EP looks like.
You know what? You tell Alston if he has a problem with me, he can say it to my face.
We would, if he wasn't dead.
Dead. Oh, poor guy. What a shame.
Are you really?
All right, here comes EP.
Why should I be? Alston had it coming.
Oh, well, that's what we... It feels so good to be on the field. A few more hours, this mentoring thing will be over.
It's been 2 days.
Exactly. What's this guy's story?
Andrew Townsley, 22 years old, discharged 6 months ago when he popped positive for a shipwide drug test.
It says here that he was brought up to captain's.
Of course, you can definitely see a little bit more graininess in the EP recorder here, but still not bad at all for a machine this old. You can tell it has definitely not been used a whole bunch. Otherwise, we'd have a little bit of tadpole noise or something on EP if they had used this for a daily recording machine, but it looks pretty good.
This guy's a winner.
Yep. There he is, Andrew Townsley.
Who wants to know?
LCIS.
Use context clues, idiots.
All right, so I'm going to say we're good on the record. I did not check the tuner in this. I will throw my old signal generator into channel 3 just to see if it will actually accept an RF signal coming in. I have no reason to believe it wouldn't, but our testing that we've done here on record, this is looking real good. So let's go ahead and find something good to put in this for a final play test, and we'll wrap this one up. So stand by for that. All right, so we pick up one final time, having a look at this NEC model DX-3500U video recorder. And again, I want to apologize for near back-to-back video projects. I know the video things are not as popular as the audio stuff, but didn't really anticipate actually getting this machine. I didn't think he would take the 15 bucks, but he did, and I wound up with it, and it is a very nice machine, and definitely one that I might have to hang on to this one. Like I said, the only downside for me is I don't like the fact that it doesn't have variable record level for the hi-fi audio when you're recording audio on it. But that's the only thing I can find with this machine that is a negative. So as we make our way out of this video, we'll take a look at one of my VHS movies that I have. I've got a few of these, and this is one I've always liked called Romeo is Bleeding. This has Gary Oldman in it, as well as Lena Olin and a few other now famous people. We'll take a look at a opening clip of this. And as always, I want to thank you guys very much. I appreciate you checking out the videos on this channel, and appreciate all the people that's reached out to me. If I haven't gotten back to you, I will eventually when time permits for me to do so. But thanks for all your kind comments and kind words. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'll bring the audio up in the mixer for you, and we'll check a little bit of this out on our way out of this video.
You ever seen a ghost? There's this guy. Comes in here every May 1st. Every May 1st, every December 1st. Like clockwork. What's he want? Well, frankly, I ain't exactly sure. He had the strangest story to tell. He left this here, and I keep it for him. How do I know he'll be back? What's that? A woman was involved? Just fits. I was married once myself. Beautiful girl. And by the way, I'm Jim Doherty. I run the place. His name? Sure. His name is Jack Grimaldi. Hey, there he is now. Jack was a romantic guy. Big dreams. Problem was, there was always a little daylight between his dreams and his wallet. See, he was a working stiff.
Hey, Billy.
56 grand a year and never made it past sergeant. And every day, he looked at a little of this. And then he looked at too much of that. And all the time, he was thinking. I bet you know what he was thinking, don't you? You'd have done just what he wound up doing, I'll bet.
Honey, I'm home.
He walked around, just like anybody. But inside, he wasn't like anybody. 'Cause he was doing something about those big dreams. Something only your true love would understand. Something you'd whisper to her in the middle of the night. And then hold her tight. That's the way it used to be with them. He could have told her anything. Hey, wait a minute! I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Pretend you didn't see that.